Hello, it is Katie from Crafting Ruby Dreams, and to my channel, I talk about planners, goal setting, writing and publishing, and getting right with my finances. So today we've been working through all of the, oh, they have a new icon on StreamYard. Interesting. Anyway, we've been working, at least I have been working through all of the various year-end reflections, preparing my goals for 2023. I started off with using the MäksēLife products since that is kind of like the whole life stuff. And the last couple of days, I've moved into the HB90 workbooks and everything. So planners, whatever. For HB90 for 2023, sorry, 2022. I will get into 2023. For 2022, I used the annual goals planner because I just decided that I didn't need, with also using HB90 and all of this stuff, I didn't need the whole planners of HB90 for each quarter. I just needed the goal work. And so that's I've been using the annual planner. It's been great. I really recommend it. This was my first year using the goal planner. So I did not see on that there was a section to the goal planner that I don't remember there being in the quarterly planners. And what's in the goals planner is a year-end reflections, very similar to what MäksēLife is now offering. And the reason I caught that there was year-end reflections was because I was looking at Sarah Cannon's not YouTube, but eventually YouTube, but her Instagram. No, it wasn't even Instagram. It was something that she posted in the HB90 alumni Facebook group. So I'm also sure that she probably posted it in the Discord group as well. But she said, for everybody who doesn't have the goals planner, here's the year in review worksheets. And I was just like, there's a year in review? I was like, okay, I guess that's what I'm going to be going through tomorrow. And then I ended up taking a nap yesterday afternoon because my body just needed it. As a friend reminded me earlier in the week, I'm still recovering from COVID. That is something that I'm going to be recovering from for a while. So my body is going to need rest. And when I feel like taking a nap, I just need to take the damn nap. So I was up a little later than planned. I will start off by saying that because of the nap. But I started working on the yearly review in the HB90 goals planner. If you're in the Facebook group and you don't have the goals planner, Sarah did post this yearly review in that group, so go check it out. And again, I'm assuming she also did that in the Discord group. But so later in the night, I'm like, okay, I should go look up this yearly review. It's like, oh yeah, I did not flip through the entire planner. And this yearly review, it is 10 pages, 3 pages. Oh no, it's like here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, yes, it is 10 pages, which means that it is 30 questions. And it's a lot. It is a lot. It was a lot to work through. And I was fully planning on working through these questions live here on the live stream. Double words. Also, I am drinking all the Coke because I was really up later than I wanted to be, and then got up early to take care of some things. Anyway, I started looking at these. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll give myself a little bit of a head start because I don't want today's live stream to go overly long, especially with the HB90 kickoff call at 3 p.m. I'm like, at most, I'm cutting this off at an hour. So I promise you that. Hopefully a little shorter than an hour. So I was like looking through this. I'm like, all right, let me at least get started. And then I flipped on Sarah's video that she posted yesterday with her planner lineup for 2023 and her working through all of that. That is also an hour plus long video, just as a heads up. It was good. I enjoyed it. I watched it all the way. But I also ended up working through all of these yearly review questions. I'm going to tell you what the questions are so you can like maybe give some thoughts about it. Hi, Halima. Haven't taken HB90, but aren't on Facebook. You know what? If you have signed up for HB90 for the one that starts today, Sarah might talk about it during the live stream. I would ask her about it during the live stream if you're doing that today. You can also probably reach out to her if you aren't signed up, and if you use the planner, and just ask her, because I have a feeling that she probably would do something to help you with that. Because I personally thought that this was a really good review. Just spoiler alert, I thought it was worth it. So if you're in the boot camp that starts today, reach out to her during the live stream or on her Discord channel, because once she opens the room, you should be able to get links to both the Facebook group, which you're not on, but also the Discord group. So I know that she makes the Discord chat available. I just don't know if she can post files in there because I haven't been in that group in a while. So, but yeah, so I would check that out. So good question. All right. So this yearly review starts off with kind of some questions that are also in the weekly and monthly and quarterly reviews, but having this all together and kind of like really working through it. And she actually gets a bit deeper with some things that I, again, thought were very useful. So what did you accomplish this year? Make a list. So I became a USA Today bestselling author, which, side note, apparently shenanigans are happening over at USA Today. I noticed this with the day job on Friday that I went to, as part of the day job, I monitor the bestseller list, which lately have been just New York Times and the USA Today lists. I noticed that the USA Today list hadn't been updated, and it was not clear why. I found out yesterday why that likely happened, or didn't happen, I should say. Sarah McLean, who is a historical romance author, if you're not already familiar with her, she posted to Twitter that apparently there has only been one person doing the USA Today list, bestseller list, for 26 years, and that person got laid off this week. So no one knows what the future of the USA Today list is. It may be dead. We don't know. It's just that apparently there's been one person who has been putting that together for 26 years, and that person no longer works for the company that does USA Today. So just as a heads up. But I became a USA Today best-selling author this year before shenanigans. I also wrote 166,150 words, which I mentioned in the MäksēLife yearly review. I completed 2 novels within that amount of words. I wrote and published a story in the Descent anthology, which was what led to the USA Today bestselling status. I attended 4 romance and or publishing related conferences, which were InkersCon Digital, which is run by Alessandra Torre. Excuse me. And I attended the digital version. She also has an in-person version that happens in June. The digital version was basically all of the recordings from what was presented in June, plus a couple of others. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And if you are a beginning author, it probably, for some of these things, it helps to have published at least one book. But even if you are not published, I would recommend InkersCon as a possible conference for you to attend. I would say that it is very indie publishing heavy, though there is a lot of stuff for traditionally published authors to also think about. Alessandra is traditionally published. I think she started off indie published, but she now publishes with Amazon imprints. And yeah, so it's a good. I don't know if you are a more advanced published author, especially indie published author. I don't know that there's a whole lot of stuff that would help level you up. But if you're relatively new to publishing, I think it's a very useful conference. Then I also attended PolyCon, which is a reader event hosted here in DC by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And then I attended Romance Author Mastermind, which is a more advanced conference specifically for romance authors. That is hosted by Skye Warren. I don't know if she'll be hosting it again. I have not heard a for sure answer one way or the other. But if it is held and you have had a number of books published, it is invitation. You have to apply. You don't have to like pay any money to apply, but you have to say, basically apply that, hey, yes, I do have a backlist to work with. So that was a good conference too. That was a really good conference. And then I also virtually attended the 20 Books to 50K conference. That is 20 Books to 50K is a Facebook group. I have some history with the Facebook group that it's just like, I felt that it wasn't necessarily, when I had been in it, it turned out, I'm like, I don't like the energy necessarily of the Facebook group, but I find the conference I've attended virtually. This year was my first time officially attending virtually. I watched all of last year's videos that they put up on YouTube. They like literally starting Friday, starting Friday, they just started putting up the videos from this year's conference. So you can watch for free on YouTube. And there's a lot of really, really good information. Not only what I was able to see from this year's conference, but also I would go look up Elena Johnson's videos, presentations from last year's 2021's conference. Those were also really useful. So I attended those 4 conferences. I also completed the Business Mastermind for Authors course that was run by Holly Darling. She is no longer offering that iteration of the course, so I'm glad I was able to get in. And then I also discovered and solidified my drafting process. That was a huge, huge accomplishment for me. Oh, lovely caffeine. So next question was, how does it feel to have accomplished these things? What opportunities came to you because of the work you did? I really like the way she phrased that second question because it acknowledges the work involved in having opportunities come your way. I have seen a lot of talk and discussion and other stuff that does not always acknowledge the work behind opportunities that come your way. And so I really appreciated that question. So my feelings with all of this: happy, excited, peaceful. I said, thanks to being accepted into the Descent anthology, I was able to basically retire my previous pen name as a USA Today bestseller. That's where the peaceful came in. It was that I have closure. This was a decision that I've been struggling with for the last couple of years. So to be able to have this opportunity to have a firmer sense of closure was just, really, really useful. Even if we hadn't had the USA Today bestseller thing happen, just having the opportunity to put like a closing note on that pen name was a huge thing for me. And then I'm also confidently going into 2023, just period, almost, and am confident in my ability to launch my new pen name. So there's a lot of happiness associated with that. And self-confidence, which is huge because I've not always been self-confident in my writing, and I really am feeling it now. And so the process to get to this point has been a lot of work, but it's so cool to feel and see the effects of all of that work. And then This is an interesting question, and that is, um, how did you change people's lives or support the people in your life this year? And I was routinely in a number of rooms on the Clubhouse app that are author publishing centered, and I think I contributed a lot of useful information and other things to that group. I know that I'm frequently looked at as somebody who is knowledgeable about the publishing industry and can contribute useful stuff, not just information, but wisdom from the many years that I've been involved in publishing. Um, and then also, I provided valuable content on my Crafting Ruby Dreams channels. So I appreciate the comments that many of you leave, both here on YouTube as well as over on Instagram about what I provide. And so I really am thankful, and I'm really getting so confused. Sorry. I'm getting distracted because there's family chat stuff going on, but this is happy family chat stuff talking about Christmas planning. So I'm just trying to ignore the pop-ups. Um, so I'm very appreciative of when you choose to leave a comment, because that means the world to me that you have felt enough about whatever it is that I'm talking about that you felt compelled to leave a comment. So thank you. And then something else that I noted for this was I like being a cheerleader for my fellow authors. So I know I did that on Twitter as I was able to. I have done that on other social media sites, and also within this one private Slack group that I'm in that has been so instrumental and impactful for me this year. And so being able to cheer on fellow authors, both when things that are good are happening, but also when things are not so good. So being someone who can offer comfort and other things, that has been, I can see the impact on that of that, and that's meant a lot to me. And then the next question it was, when were you happiest this year? What about those moments or events made you happy? So I really appreciate this question, because what it's getting to is helping you identify things that you can maybe replicate in order to replicate the happiness. Maybe not the exact flavor of happiness, but what you can do to help ensure that you still have a happy moments moving forward in the future in how you're accomplishing whatever it is you're trying to do. So I said, I think the happiest I was this year was starting in July. So I really, looking over the whole year, in terms of the feeling of happiness, I don't know that I was fully feeling happy at the start of the year, but I felt hopeful at the start of the year because of a lot of there was a lot of things happening that I was just like, it made me hopeful for how the year might play out. But actual happiness, I think I didn't really start feeling until July. Part of that was finishing that first novel and having the confidence again about knowing that I could do that. And then moving forward with writing the short story for the anthology. I just started one-on-one coaching with the strengths coach that I work with, interacting with my fellow authors who were in the Descent anthology. That was a type of project I hadn't been, it'd been a while since I got to participate in a project like that. So the participation aspect, frequently checking in with that private Slack group I mentioned, attending conferences again, especially the in-person ones, as well as the virtual ones, and making connections with fellow authors. And then finishing books and stories that I'm proud of, even as first drafts. So there was a lot of, I could see how the effects of all the work I had been doing. And so that just, there was a lot of profoundness. So I'm paying attention to the fact that being connected with people, doing the support things like the one-on-one coaching, um, checking in with a private Slack group and keeping those connections strong, as well as doing in-person conferences. So those are things I need to remember and continue doing as I go into 2023. And from Halima, I took my Clifton Strengths top 5 yesterday because of your recommendation and downloaded the book to get the code, and I'm learning on how to understand it. I'm so glad. I am so glad. I will say, after having coaching, I sometimes feel like the information provided in the books and on Gallup's YouTube channels, I think they're very useful, but I also feel like I'm like, I need more, but I'm also high input. It's in my top 10. So it's just kind of like, yes, input needs more. So depending on where your input falls, you might feel this, especially if it's in your top 5, since you said you just got your top 5. But if it's not in your top 5, but you're still feeling like I need more, you might have fairly high input, even though it's not top 5. So just a personal experience note, let's say, since I am not a coach. Oh, input is number 3 for you. So yeah, just as a heads up. But I like I said, I do find that information useful from Gallup. It's just high inputs, you tend to want more. So just as a heads up as you move forward with that. So how did you support your mental health this year? I really like the fact that she asked this. And what about your physical health? Because having a good handle, let's say, even if you're not in a good place, but you're addressing problems, whatever those problems or issues are with regards to mental and or physical health, is really, really key to moving forward, I think. So mental health, I did the coaching with Better Faster Academy, and not only coaching, because I've been doing the small group coaching for a while, but I specifically reached out and asked for and paid for the one-on-one coaching when I was at a place where I was just like, oh no, I need help. I really, really need help. There's so much going on. I need somebody outside of me to talk things through with me. And it ended up being that the person I do one-on-one coaching with is somebody I've been friends with for 20 years. So having that background understanding of each other also helps. And then I also participated in Club Moxie. Some months more heavily participated than others, but continuing on with that practice has also been good. I got assessed for ADHD and then started meds eventually when I learned I was somebody who has ADHD. So all of that, getting a better understanding of myself and the way my brain operates. And then with physical health, doing all of the doctor's appointments, taking all of the various meds, getting devices as needed. The fact that I've had a number of things happen this year with my physical health that have significantly impacted the way I just feel body wise has been frustrating, but also because I've put in the work to address those issues and have seen positive results, it's kind of like, yes, I need to continue reaching out to my doctor when I need help because when I don't feel good, I really don't feel good. When I do feel good, I tend to forget how bad when I didn't feel good. So it's like, okay, yes, I need to pay attention to what my body is telling me. In what ways did you ignore or harm your health in 2022? So this is, again, trying to bring you to awareness of how you pay attention to yourself. And then she says both mentally and physically. And I will tell you that I tried to ignore some things just because I had been seeing so many doctors and practitioners for so many different things in a short period of time, I had appointment fatigue. And so I put off some appointments because I was just like, I'm just tired of seeing people and having to deal with the health issues. So there, appointment fatigue was a thing for me. And so I put it off. But at the same time, I was just like, no, I need to do this stuff. And so I still have a bit of appointment fatigue, but it's not as bad as it had been. So, so just again, things to be aware of about yourself. What changes can you make in 2023 to be happier and healthier? And I just said, basically continue the current course and work on drinking 100 ounces of water daily. I also know with having that as a goal for the year that I put in my MäksēLife, is that it's something I'm going to have to incrementally work forward. I think I talked about this in one of the other live streams, that my plan for that particular goal is to work up to tracking my water intake a habit, and just getting to the point where that's a routine thing for me. And then once that is routine, taking a look at and seeing what my average intake is, and then incrementally building that up until I hit 100 ounces of water. So it's not like I want to start January 1st and start drinking 100 ounces of water every single day. No, I am working on creating this a routine habit thing, it slowly, and just getting to the point where it can be an everyday thing, but I'm not going to just jump in the deep end. I just do that with swimming pools. So, what were some of the biggest steps you what were some of the biggest steps you took? I almost said look, toward your ideal life in 2022? What are you most proud of? And my answer to that was I truly began writing again and figured out the drafting process I feel most successful with. I've tried a number of drafting processes over the many years I've been writing, and this just feels so truly in my gut right. I have never been so happy with the first draft and feeling like it was hitting all the points, the basic bones of a good story needed to hit. Not to say that it didn't need some work, but I didn't feel like I had to take a leg bone out of the rib cage and stick it into where the leg bone should be, the way I have felt about previous projects. If that makes any sense at all, it's just, if you remember the like old time cartoons, I think like Disney did this a few, but like any kind of like older cartoons with skeletons and how they get knocked down and then they reassemble themselves, but their bones are all in the wrong place, and then they have to reassemble themselves again. That's like that. All the bones were in the wrong place. That's how pretty much all of my previous projects felt like. Whereas when I finished the first draft of this latest project, it felt like everything was in the right place. I didn't have to significantly rearrange anything to make it right. And so that was huge for me. And what I said was, what I'm most proud of is using the latter, the figuring out the drafting process, to write a book that I am confident in, even as a first draft. So, yeah. What did you learn this year about your ideal life? How has your vision for your life either changed or grown stronger? So I think this is a really good question, because she has you at the start of every quarter. She has you work through what your ideal life is. She has an ideal life workbook that is almost like pre-work for the boot camp. And I know some people who do that every quarter. I know some people who only do that once a year. Others who do it mid-year, in addition to so they'll do it for quarter one and for the start of quarter three as examples. And I said, as I grow as a person, my ideal life is refining itself. And I kind of had a revelation yesterday, as I was kind of napping. I had kind of woken up from the initial nap. I was still tired and out of it. So I was closed my eyes for another while. And when I was in that kind of half awake period, I had the realization that once I retire from the day job, I want to take a quote unquote gap year for retirement where I just travel the world. Um, and just see a lot of places that I haven't been able to see yet. I don't feel like wanting that means that I need to put off any places that I want to travel to between now and whenever that is. But at the same time, I also want to have that opportunity to hit highlights of places that I truly just haven't been able to go to yet. So, yeah, so that having that realization is just put another piece of the puzzle or created more clarification of what it is I truly want and what I'm working towards. So, yeah, so that was something. Um, which daily habits helped you achieve more this year? And I will say that with the ADHD, I'm not one for daily habits necessarily, other than taking my meds, my various, not even ADHD meds, but like just regular medications. That's about the only thing that is actually mostly a habit for me. And figuring out how to structure my writing quote unquote days and draft complete novel. So figuring out, because I figured out, okay, I can create a writing day by defining that as 3 writing sprints for me, and a writing sprint is 15 minutes. So by doing that and also doing at least one of those sprints, if it's on a work day during one of my breaks, that means it's more likely for me to actually complete that writing day with a full 3 sprints. But doing that lets me complete a novel in about 10 weeks with the way my drafting process currently is. So that's huge. This is the other thing. I feel like I haven't achieved a whole lot relatively because writing has been such a primary thing for me, and I have not been able to do it in the last few years. So figuring out all of this process, even just the process of figuring out all of this, has allowed me to achieve more. So it's kind of like some of these questions, as I'll get to, are things that I'm kind of like, well, this year's been phenomenal for me, so I don't know how I can improve upon this, but there is that. This is a little sarcastic, the immediate answer to this next question. So the next question is, which daily habits kept you from working as much as you intended? And my immediate answer was the day job. So I like my day job. I really do. I love my coworkers. It's a really good situation for me with the fact that I need to have a day job I need to have a day job for the income. I need to have a day job to help me bounce off of and feel the impetus to write when I can write and do those 15-minute sprints. It provides a structure for me. So there is that. But at the same time, as I move forward, I'm also kind of like, I might be able to actually write a little faster if I didn't have the day job. I might be able to do more marketing if I didn't have the day job. So fighting against that is going to be interesting over the next few years. But the deeper answer to that question was, once I was able to rediscover my love of writing and turn to the live streams. This is the other thing that was really, I think, important for me to realize, is doing these live streams here on the channel. I was able to get everything done that I really wanted to. That's the other thing, is that I got more done this year than I expected to at the start of the year. I really did not expect to get done all of the stuff that I've gotten done this year. So that's where my answers to these questions are a little like, I don't know, but like I did more than I planned. So, but at the same time, this coming year is going to be different because of all of the added things that tasks and projects that I'm going to need to take on with the actual act of publishing that I'm going to be doing. So list the habits you'd most like to create or cultivate in 2023. I will also say, um, if you're not familiar with her already, Nisha Sharma, she is a young adult and adult contemporary romance author. She has a YouTube channel here. She just put up a video, I think yesterday, about creating routines. And she had a really good distinction about habits and routines and how habits are things you can do without thought. And if you have ADHD, pretty much anything that anybody else would define as a habit, you have to put thought into it. So there is that distinction. And honestly, I think some of the things I want to do, I would actually call routines no matter what. So I think Sarah conflates habits and routines a bit. So I would pull out and add in lists of habits and or routines you'd most like to create or cultivate in 2023. And so these include posting to TikTok 5 days a week, weekly newsletters for the new pen name, drink 100 ounces of water daily, steady drafting of about 5-ish days per week when I am in drafting mode, and batching my content for the new pen name. So those are more routines, I think, than anything else. But 100 ounces of water, I'd like to make a habit. We will see. I think, like I said, because I have ADHD, I think I'll have to be more conscious than somebody who does not have ADHD about doing that particular thing. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how consistent were you with your writing? Again, because this is mainly designed for writers, use this space to journal about why you gave yourself that score. And this wasn't, like I said earlier, this was an interesting question for me because I didn't have these quote unquote habits and routines and other things in place last year. So this year was all new compared to last year. My answer was, I'd say that I grew to a solid 8 out of 10. I gave myself this score because I hadn't written anything, or at least completed it, in almost 3 years. And this year, through some starts and stops, I wrote 2 complete novels and a short story. And the total across all the fiction I wrote, so there was like backstory stuff that I wrote at the beginning of the year, some things that I did just to kind of get me going with the actual like writing and moving towards a project of that I could complete. So across all of my fiction writing, so not including like the newsletters I wrote for the previous pen name, the retiring pen name, I wrote over 166,000 words. So that is so significant compared to what I had done the previous year. So it was also kind of like, how do I give myself a score when it's just so phenomenally better than the previous year? I'm like, 8 out of 10. Because there are days that I'm like, I don't want to write. I just didn't feel like writing. What do you feel? And this was another question. What do you feel would help you to be more consistent? And it's kind of like, I was really freaking consistent. Like, I don't know how to answer this because I just saw so much improvement that it's just kind of like, I don't know how I could improve even more. I could improve even more and I'd be running myself into the ground. This is the other thing is that I think I am at a point that is sustainable for what my current situation is. I am not looking to overclock myself. I don't know. I remember this from when I was doing computer stuff in grad school and talking about overclocking. I think it was the processor, but basically making it run harder and faster. And it's like, I don't want to do that to myself because I don't want to go through burnout again. So I feel like I'm at a sustainable level. And so becoming more consistent isn't actually a thing I want to be doing. And I say in my answer, I honestly feel very consistent at this point. So I'm looking forward to what happens in 2023 with my new understanding of my drafting process. So that's, it was just, I'm sharing these answers with you, but no one else. If you're doing it, you don't have to share these answers with anyone. It's just being honest with yourself and just, again, working through to understand the deeper meaning behind your answer to this question and the meaning behind the question. In what other areas would you like to be more consistent or disciplined? How will being more disciplined in these areas impact your life? I also went into this question of, this isn't going to work for me. Like, this is not the type of person I am. But I understand where the question is coming from. And so I tried to answer with that understanding that while I do understand where the question is coming from, I'm never going to be somebody who's extremely disciplined and consistent. It's just that is not how I best operate. And I just said, I would like to increase the frequency of my newsletter with the new pen name. Retiring pen name is currently at a frequency of monthly. I want the new pen name to be weekly. And I said, I have been very consistent with my retiring pen names newsletter. So I'd like to carry that consistency of the fact that I know that that newsletter is monthly. I'm very consistent. For the most part, outside of extenuating circumstances, I get that newsletter out on the same date every month. And I'm very proud of that. And I would like to continue that level of consistency with the new pen name and knowing what the frequency of the new pen names newsletter will be. So overall, were you satisfied with your progress in 2022? Why or why not? And my answer was, I am beyond satisfied with my progress in 2022. I'm really beyond satisfied, and just the progress I've had was something I wished for, but I didn't imagine how profound the progress would be if I achieved what I dreamed. I truly, looking at this whole year is just kind of like, I really did that. Whoa, like Bill and Ted from Bill and Ted. Whoa. And looking back, I'm just so incredibly happy. Think about the goals you set this year. Did they work for you? How often did you reach the outcomes you were hoping for? And this is where I dug in a bit further for myself. I think my goals did work for me, and I often did achieve the outcomes I was hoping for. For some outcomes, with regards to money, I achieved my minimum goals, but I only hit my minimum for Q4 yesterday. Where for the other quarters, I overshot my best. So where that comes in, where I need to dig a little deeper, is figuring out optimal goals if I want to set money goals, and I know I want to set money goals. And money goals that's still something that you can't fully just say, I'm going to achieve this amount of money in this quarter, because there are things about achieving that you cannot control. Like, I cannot go and just say, I'm going to make $5,000 this month, and you make $5,000 this month, and putting in the work to make the $5,000. The only thing you can control is putting in the work, whether or not people actually buy or do page reads, if it's Kindle Unlimited, whatever, send money your way. You cannot control the actual receipt of the money. You can control the work that you put in to optimize the possibility of you receiving that money. So letting people know that whatever you're selling exists, marketing. So it's pretty much all comes back to letting people know that things exist. And no, we are not dealing with spam today. Blocking. I apologize for that, because it's almost a mark of I have arrived when these adult spammers start getting in here. No, you need to be blocked. Block. So, and I think that note says that they were blocked. All right, whatever. I'm not gonna. put user in timeout. There we go. We'll see. Anyway, so I think it's knowing why you put money goals when that aspect, that like actual final part of that equation process you cannot control is, like I said, the receipt of the money. But if putting a money goal motivates you to do as much work as you can towards creating the possibility of it actually happening, then go ahead and put a money goal. I personally, like I said, I am putting a money goal because I have had the recent realization that money goals motivate me. So where I need to do some personal work is figuring out the balance between a big enough number to really, really freaking motivate me, but also one not so big that it is so really, truly out of the realm of possibility. And when I adjust for bigger goals, how to deal with, like I said, I adjusted my money goal for quarter four based on what I knew from stuff in quarter two and quarter three. And I was not happy with how long it took for me. I'm glad I hit the minimum, absolutely. But I had some disappointment around some early things that happened that made it clear that it was going to be harder for me to hit that minimum goal. So, so I have to figure out managing my expectations with reality, with possibility, if that makes any sense. So, but knowing that about yourself is always a good thing. Halima, I am grateful you are discussing the money aspect of writing. I am taking an investing course so I can have diversified income that I can retire early and write while also being financially comfortable. Yes. I actually really love talking about money. I have very few filters when it comes to money. I try to be respectful of others' boundaries when it comes to money by, if I know certain things about certain people's finances, keeping those things private, because that is not my money stuff to share. But talking about my individual money, I generally don't have any filters. Never really have. It has offended some people in the past by me saying, but let's talk specifics. And they're like, we don't do that. That's not classy. I'm just kind of like, fuck classy. I need information. But yeah, so money is a big driver for me. It may not be for you. If it is for you, fine, just figure out how you best work with that. And again, that's why a number of my why I kind of structured my financial goals in MäksēLife to work around my mindset around money, and not to like shut myself down, but just to kind of work through some issues I still have around money. Because just because I have no filters does not also mean that I don't have trauma around certain things with regards to money. So that's also something to be taken into consideration. All right. So, did your goals motivate you to be more productive? Explain your answer. And this is also a really good question. You probably don't realize how deep of a question this is, but this is one to really understand what it is that is truly driving you to working on your goals, so that when you are feeling like, I just can't today, I don't want to, well, there are some things where can't takes precedence, such as your physical health, your mental health, something happening that is just a higher priority. But figuring out if you can maybe do a little work when you have to put off the bigger work of the like writing and everything, or is it truly you can't, or if it's just I don't wanna. So And I respect the I don't want us to, because there are days where you just need to rest. So my answer to this question was, I think the vision I'm working towards motivates me more than the specific goals that I set to move me towards the next phase of achieving that vision. So again, kind of knowing yourself, this is where Clifton Strengths has come in handy for me, is that I I'm not ruled by executing strengths. So doing things just to do them are not, they're not, that's not something that gives me energy or fun. But I can see a vision of where I want my life to be, those aspects of that, and that really, really drives me. And so I lean into that and keep that present for myself as I move forward. And so that's how, like, if for people who get really into Clifton Strengths, they look at me, and especially what I've done this last year, and then they see that I'm a number 34 achiever, and they're like, huh? Because a lot of people associate the kind of work that I've put in and accomplished this year with people who are high achievers. I am like, achiever is last place for me. And so you have to figure out what is going to drive you towards achieving what it is that you want to achieve, and helps give you the energy and power to move forward towards whatever that is. And that's been so useful for me. So, all right, I think this is the last. Nope. I have 4 more pages to work through in about 9 more minutes. So we're gonna get this a little faster. Did your goals ever make you feel overwhelmed or frustrated? If yes, why do you think that is? How can you make changes next year to avoid this? And my answer really was honest. I don't think the goals I set currently are overwhelming, because I'm consciously working to build a sustainable writing business. So because that is a primary thing for me, I take that into account when I'm setting goals. I'm not being so overly positive of I can do all the things, even though I think I can do all the things. It's just I'm like, you know what? This aspect of Sarah's class, of figuring out how much time you actually have available to you, has been so useful. And it's just like, I can do all the things in this range. And I usually like kind of like what I set for myself for this quarter, I was like, yeah, I think I can do all this. This is going to be a push. And then I got COVID. And so I was like, oh, this is really going to be a push. And then I started working on the editing phase. And that's where I was like, oh, I'm glad I figured out my drafting process. And oh, yeah, this is okay. This is not going to be as much work on the back end as it previously was for me. So I was just like, okay, cool. I'm really happy about this. And I can take the knowledge that I've gained this year and move forward into how I set goals for next year. So, did you face any challenges when it came to breaking your goals down into projects and tasks? Explain those challenges. This is where I think people who have ADHD probably feel this more. I think because I'm a very strategic person, I can actually see those various steps and figure out those various steps, especially since I have experience with self-publishing, indie publishing prior to this. So I already knew those steps. It's the actual execution of those steps where I personally fall down. So I said, I faced some challenges in that I didn't have an understanding of my editing process after the changes to my drafting process. So I didn't know how long it would take me for editing. And I now have a much better idea, even though I still have another phase of editing that I want to put this novel through. In what other ways did your goals motivate you? I became very intentional about choosing my writing projects and how and where I spend my time. So that was a very good realization to have. What changes can you make to your process next year to help you feel more motivated or excited? Pay attention to where I'm spending my time and energy, and just as necessary as I learn how to publish and market again, because it's been a number of years and market has changed a bit, not significantly, but maybe just significantly enough to Like TikTok, that was not a thing when I last published, at least in terms of the impact on book sales. It is a thing now. So, yeah. So just trying to like figure out what this new phase of my career is like. Um, who was your greatest support during the year? Who did you lean on most? I am not going to mention people specifically by name because these are my people, but um, broadly, that private Slack group that I mentioned before. I have another group of friends who have a somewhat monthly strengths peer coaching, even though none of us are coaches. But we talk about what we deal with in our lives and writing careers and we use a lot of strengths language. The Better Faster Academy, particularly two coaches who my one-on-one coach and another coach who I tend to go to for the small group coaching, Club Moxie and Team Moxie, the staff there, and then a couple more people. So those have been huge support systems for me. Who or what consistently brought you down this year or brought out negative feelings or emotions? I'm not going to say the who because I want to keep that private. But the other aspect of what was the health issues, particularly having to deal with gout and having trouble with walking. That's been a huge issue for me. So when I'm not comfortable walking, even just within my apartment, that's not fun. So, all right. What resources, groups, or people can you lean on in 2023 to help support you in your dreams? What groups or people do you need to distance yourself from? Again, pretty much everybody who I just mentioned as who was my support in 2022. And since resources was added in, I'm also adding in Notion. I have used that as the repository for my story Bible. So we'll see how that goes with the next two books in the series. I don't actually have anyone or anything listed on distance from. I have a feeling I'm probably going to have to put a couple of names in there, but that's currently blank. And did you use your time efficiently this year? In what ways? And I was like, I did. Like, I actually was extremely efficient with my time. I don't know how, but I was. And I think the real key was just figuring out that once I really got into the rhythm of writing again, the realization that my average number of words per writing sprint hadn't really changed due to burnout, which was extremely surprising to me. I fully expected that to be significantly lower than it had been pre-burnout, but apparently that truly is my natural pace. And even burnout couldn't, as bad as that was, couldn't kill that. So I was like, okay, cool. And then also figuring out my drafting process so that I basically had a complete novel that was in reasonable condition within about a 12-week period. So that was huge for me. And so taking that knowledge into how I move forward with publishing is going to be big. Where did you waste time this year? I'm like, honestly, this is my answer. Honestly, I don't feel like I truly wasted any time. When I had to take downtime, so there's the natural downtime, and then when I was forced into downtime, such as when I had COVID, when I had the other health issues, it was usually in aid of resting and recuperating from a health issue. So it was just it was rest is necessary. And there was a TED Talk article that I just came across recently that I will put in the description below, and it talks about the 7 kinds of rest, and I found it extremely useful. And I'm going to be rereading and referring to that on a regular basis, I think. What steps can you take to be more efficient in 2023 and eliminate time sinks? And what my answer, again, I'm like, I already am as efficient as I feel like I really need to be, at least with the parts of my process that I've done this year. The main thing I need to do for 2023 is batching my marketing content, such as like videos for TikTok, filming the videos ahead of time on like weekends, and then leaving them in the drafts folder and then just posting them when I'm ready to post them, and creating templates for the newsletter for my new pen names so that I can also easily batch those, say like the first weekend of the month or the last weekend of the month and do them to prep the ones for the next month, and just have like, okay, so here's all of the modules for this newsletter, and I just quickly plug in the information and move on to the next one. Just cutting down the time needed for me to think about all of this, and that's where a time sink starts for me. What projects this year moved you forward the most and why? And there's two. My Sunflower Falls novel and The World, because I'm confident in using it as the base for launching the new pen name, and my story for the Descent anthology, as I'm now comfortable in retiring the previous pen name. And seriously, those two things just huge for me. And then which projects seem to be a waste of your time and energy? And I was like, none. They all either accomplished their purpose or I learned a valuable lesson from them, and very often both. That is the last of the, and this is a free write exercise. Simply write what comes to mind, what worked for you in 2022, what felt really good, how did you make yourself proud? So this is really good for identifying the various things that you can, like I said earlier, that you can maybe replicate going into the following year. And just refer back to that. It's like when you run into any kind of roadblock, it's like, ooh, I have a roadblock. Well, what worked the last time for me? Can I start doing those, or was I already doing those and they're just not working anymore? And then what didn't work, the questions for this is, what didn't work, what overwhelmed, frustrated, or disappointed you? Where did you let yourself down this year? So like things you can maybe avoid going into the next year. So that's pretty much it for the, oh, there's one more. Again, not reading ahead that far. Next year, a year from now, when you get to the end of 2023, what will you need to have accomplished in order to be able to call it a success? What do you hope is different about your life? In what ways do you most hope to grow? I actually really like this because this gets you on the road to figuring out how you define success, because for some people, success if they're doing things for money, the actual money is not a marker of success for them. It's the impact they have on other people. It's other things besides money. Some people do define money. I do have a money definition for how I define success. It's not making a certain amount, even though I know that that is a goal of mine. But the marker of success is that I have to pay taxes on my writing income. So yes, money related, but not I make $50,000 from writing next year. Just something to think about. All right, it has been an hour. It has been just over an hour. I do need to go. I need to go take a look at that family text chat and figure out what's going on for Christmas, and a few other things. Just as a reminder, if you are signed up for the Q1 2023 boot camp with Sarah, that's the live call starts at 3 p.m. Eastern, so a little less than an hour. I will hopefully see some of you there, whether you're alumni or you're new to this class. And I will be back tomorrow. Since I am working from home for this week, we'll just leave it at that. I will likely be on tomorrow evening. I'm not sure exactly what I'll be working on, but I'll be working on something because I'm doing 12 days of live streams and I've got 2 more days. So look for me tomorrow evening. I will post in the community tab with specifics later today, and I will see you later. May all your dreams be Ruby dreams. Bye.